Hey good people, hola mi gente, MsMalcolmHughes here. Welcome back. Today we are going to do the discussion questions for the book Black Candle Women. Let's get into it. Alright, so if you haven't seen my review for Black Candle Women, it is up on the channel, so go check that out. As for today, we're going to do it in typical fashion. I have not read these discussion questions. I'm going to read them for the first time here with you all and then discuss them. Let's get into it. Number 1. Victoria has structured her life in a way that supports her family and her family's isolation. Did you understand why she chose to live that kind of life? If the household hadn't been shaken up by Nikki's interest in Felix, Madeline's arrival, and Willow's relationship with January, do you think Victoria would have been able to maintain this way of living forever? Why or why not? I do understand why Victoria has chosen to live in isolation and really focus on her gift and not focus on love or romance or an outside life, because she's scared. There's this curse. She's scared of how it's going to impact the family, how it's going to impact anyone she chooses to love. She has an experience where she has loved someone and they have died, so I absolutely get it. If the house hadn't have been shaken up, would she have lived that way forever? Possibly. I say that because Victoria was very invested in the curse, very invested in that all she had was within the realm of that house. Something else could have come and shaken it up, but if everything continued as it were, I think that she would have continued as she was as well. 2. Although Willow doesn't believe in the curse, she has still kept herself from being in a relationship, at least until she meets January. Why do you think she behaves this way? Why does she change her behavior when January comes into her life? I think even though she's like, I don't believe in it, I think on a subconscious level, she's hesitant and like leery about it. So I think that she's found it easier to just avoid it altogether, avoid the curse, avoid love, avoid intimacy as her means of coping. I think it changed, her life changes when January comes in, because it does talk about her getting older, and she's realizing that, like, even though she says she doesn't believe in it, she's allowed it to dictate her life, her relationships, how she moves and maneuvers. And I think she wanted something more. She's in a place in her life where she desired something different. And it wasn't just romantically, it was also professionally, familial. She just wanted something different outside of what she had known. And so I think all of that compounded at the same time. So when January came in, it was just a perfect opportunity. 3. After learning about Victoria's relationship with Jimmy, Augusta doesn't intervene. How would you have acted if you'd been in Augusta's position? I think you have to allow your children to grow up and make their own choices. And you don't want to burden them with the pains that you know. So I understand not wanting to like go in and kind of force these beliefs or the curse. You want them to be happy and you hope that it won't touch them. So I don't know if I would have done anything differently. I don't know if I would have tried to separate them. I don't know. Maybe I would have issued a warning, right? But at the end of the day, you have to let your children make their own decisions, and you have to allow them to be independent. You hope that you've raised these strong individuals who can go off and make wise choices and live with the consequences therein. So I don't think Augusta made a bad decision. 4. Like Augusta's mother, Victoria envisions a certain future for her daughter and tries to control her. What other patterns are passed on among the generations? Discuss how traditions and behaviors, both useful and harmful, can continue within families. I think, yeah, that attempt to control, the attempt to like force your belief onto them. You're like, every generation, one woman is chosen, it's gonna be you. You have to live your life in this way. Trying to force how they choose their careers, trying to force who they date, right? You want them to come up in your image, but it's like they're their own beings and they have to choose their own path. I also think there's the trend of like returning home. So they moved away, but then it's like Sankofa, you have to go back and get what you've lost in order to move forward. And so I think there are pros and cons, right? Sometimes you want to pass on those traditions and those beliefs. Yes, the children, the next generation should know, absolutely. But they have to choose, inevitably, they have to choose it for themselves. They have to choose how they want to practice for themselves. They have to come to their own understanding, and you have to allow them the space and time to do that. 5. At several points in the story, there are 4 generations of Montrose women living in the same household. What impact does this living arrangement have on their lifestyles? Is it more of a hindrance or a help to have so many generations under one roof? I mean, you have to, one, determine the respect level, right? Because if it's multiple generations and you're on a younger generation side, what do? Right? As far as dating or just livelihood or how you want to interact and be, that's one to navigate as far as respect goes. But I do think it's beneficial. I think having so many generations of knowledge under one roof, you get so many different perspectives. You have sage wisdom from the elders, you have fresher eyes from the youth, you have that intergenerational dialogue that can happen. You don't get that without that. So I do think it's very important and beneficial. 6. Why do you think Black Candle Women was selected as the title for this book? How are the Montroses Black Candle Women? Is Bellanova also a Black Candle Woman? So what is the type of hoodoo or magic or just spiritual form, like spirituality that they choose to practice? They do burn Black candles in dedication, and Black candles can mean different things, protection or whatever other things that you need. So it is actually, it's that hoodoo aspect of it. These are Black women from New Orleans and who are living in California, is bringing all of that together, the history of it mixed with the spiritual practice. And they are Black candle women. Bellanova is also a Black candle woman. She follows that same tradition. And so even though she's not flesh of their flesh, blood of their blood, she has greatly impacted their entire lineage. So yeah. 7. Which Montrose woman was your favorite? Why? I think at different points in time, they all were, maybe. They all had pros and cons. I did appreciate probably the grandmother and then the mother, well, the great grandmother and then the grandmother. I think that I always appreciate that sage wisdom, people who have chosen to live life on their own terms, accepting and acknowledging the mistakes that they've made, but then also coming back full circle to make amends. I think that's super important. So I enjoyed that. I also liked Bellanova, even though she's supposed to be the villain. There's some villainous aspects, but also a lot of decisions here, whether the impact was good or bad, are made out of love. 8. Discuss the family curse. Do you think Bellanova was justified in cursing generations of Montrose women? Does your family have any superstitions? So Bellanova had plans for her son, and little Augusta came along and was like, nah, I want him for myself. It ruined whatever marriage plans they had, and they were together, and Bellanova cursed her because you ruined it. So it's like, you and generations of women, anyone you love, they will die. So they've been living with this curse. I mean, what a curse, Bellanova. Sheesh, that's stressful. Generations of women because your son chose to love someone you didn't want him to love. I thought that was a bit much. It was too much. So I didn't really like the curse. I just thought that was very villainous and vindictive. So that's my stance. I think Bellanova did a lot. She did too much. And I don't think it was justified. Does my family have superstitions? I'm gonna choose silence on that one. All right, number 9. The Montrose family documented much of their history in the book that originally belonged to Delilah. Why was Augusta willing to return it to Bellanova with so much of their story inside? Is there an item that your family passes down between generations? How does your family share and celebrate its history? So I think Augusta was willing to give it back because it wasn't hers. They had stolen it from Bellanova. It was Bellanova. So even though they had added their history to it along their journey, it was originally hers. So anything that was added to it, it goes back to the original owner, now richer, deeper than it was before. And they also knew most of it by heart at this point. But I do think it belonged to Bellanova, and in order to heal that karmic energy that was out there and to put that to rest, she felt that was the best decision, and I am compelled to agree. There are a couple of items that we passed down actually. One is the family Bible. that was given from my mother to my grandmother, and I now own that. It's a couple of other items, but that's the one that I own, so that's the one I'll discuss. I do think there's beauty in that. It's like a huge one, very it's a very nice one, and it has that history there, and to see the inscription and to know the intention, it is beautiful. So even though I don't practice the religion the way that my mother did or my grandmother did, it's still nice to have that and know the intention behind it. And I won't get too much into hoodoo, but like if you know about the Book of Psalms and all that. So that's all I say about that. But it is something that I really appreciate having, and something that I hope to pass down eventually as well. So yeah, I think it's important to have those practices, to celebrate that history, to know some history and things like that. So I think every family should have those jewels. And if you don't have anything, then let you be the first person to create it, and let you be the one to set the trend with your generation to begin to pass it down, and something for folks to treasure. Absolutely. So that is it for me, y'all. As always, I am MsMalcolmHughes, the one who believes that books are sometimes better than people. And until the next one, please remember to give time, to be kind to each other, and to have the very best day of your life on purpose. Peace, odabo, adios.